Darren, have you been baking again? That smells delicious.
Affirmative. It's time to review I Am Bread, which is a simulation of sliced bread. So scientifically speaking, we can't judge how accurate a simulation it is without a real loaf to compare it against.
Good call, Darren. Let's have some.
Yes, please.
Negative. This bread is for scientific purposes only. No eating. Roll the bread, Kerry.
The game's main idea couldn't be simpler. All you need to do is walk your slice of bread across the room to the toaster. But the real challenge comes from the wonky control system, which links a different button to each corner of the slice.
You also need to factor in the inherent floppiness of bread slices. This bendiness makes it harder to flip your slice of bread over. Barjo, could you jiggle a slice so we can judge the real-world physics?
Certainly, Darren. Oh, yeah, it's a pretty good amount of bendiness. Okay, I'm going to eat this one now.
Negative. We need more data.
Well, don't forget, Darren, that you also need to make sure the bread stays edible in the game.
Affirmative.
Doing things like laying your bread on leftover food scraps or ants quickly reduces your bread's edibility. And landing on the floor is a definite no-no. You know, we really should judge the edibility of the bread that you've baked, Darren.
Negative.
Hey, oh, Darren! Look over there, it's a new SingStar game! Whoa!
Where?
Oh, yeah!
Oh, Barjo, no! All that data you're eating. Oh, Hex, not you too. Oh.
Barjo started it. Besides, I really feel it's what the bread would have wanted. Oh, this tastes delicious. Well baked, Darren. Anyway, let's focus less on the science and more on the fun, which is what the game does.
Oh, very well. You have to keep your bread slice off the floor and edible, but that's the yeast of your worries. Oh, the other big challenge is climbing up surfaces before your bread's grip strength runs out. You'll need a quick rhythm to successfully climb things like the kitchen bench.
Yes, I'm sad to admit that I failed my bread climbing a lot early on. Accidentally slipping into the sink or falling on the floor a few too many times.
Me too. Thankfully, after a couple of failed attempts, you get the option to play with unlimited grip strength and edibility.
Obviously, my computerized reflexes didn't need assisted options like this, but I can see that it's a handy feature for exploring.
Well, I think we can all agree that the climbing is tough, especially flipping over the edges. I found the best way was to angle the bread so one corner was touching the edge, then I'd wiggle around until I could flip up. It's hard, but it's also balanced well, so I could always see what I was doing wrong to learn for next time.
You know, I think it's easy for wacky simulation games like this to end up as just a novelty, but there was a surprising amount of depth here to keep me interested. Getting to learn the room's layout, timing those tricky flips, dodging hazards.
Once you've completed the kitchen, you'll encounter some of bread's worst nightmares. Navigating your way around dangers like the dreaded bathtub, messy bedrooms, and gross garages. Oh, the horror! Oh, all that oil!
I found scaling walls and using high spots like shelving was a good technique. But it was never easy. You really do have to plan out your path to keep that bread nice and tasty. Speaking of tasty bread.
Negative, Barjo.
That reminds me, the game also rates your bread on deliciousness.
Hex.
Which means you need to seek out jars of jam and roll around in them.
I found even spreading the jam was tricky. I'd often have to grab bits of the broken jam jars and fling them away before I could get to the jam to get a good coverage.
Ah, yes, the life of a bread slice is not an easy one. Oh, and we haven't even talked about the hardest part yet, the toasting.
Oh, wait, Darren, I don't think we should give much away about how the toasting actually works. Figuring out how to actually toast yourself in the later rooms is one of my favourite parts of the game, so I don't think we should spoil that.
Good point, Hex. Obviously, there's a traditional toaster in the kitchen level, but that's all we're going to say about that.
Well, there is one thing we can talk about, the bonus modes.
Oh yeah, they were great. There's one where you're a fragile piece of crisp bread tracking down hidden pieces of cheese, which is even harder than the normal mode because crisp bread cracks so easily.
The zero gravity mode is the one I had the most fun with. The bread has all these little rockets strapped to it, and you use them to pilot around the rooms. And there are loads of others too, like racing and destruction modes. So much gameplay, but we should wrap this up, Hex.
Well, I think this is such a clever little game. I mean, the basic concept is super simple, but then they've baked in a lot of extra ingredients to make it much richer. So I'm giving it 4 stars.
You could say this game is the best thing since sliced bread. I'm giving it 4 stars as well.
You both did a great job on the review, and that deserves a reward. You may each take 1 slice from the control loaf.
Thanks, Darren. I'm gonna eat the crusts off because the crusts are my favourite.
I said 1 slice. Oh, Barjo, no! Oh, the bread! Oh, that's too much! Oh, Barjo! Oh, think of your equatorial Barjo! Oh,